In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 things that I've been doing for the last 5 years that have literally helped me get every single job that I've wanted. So that way you can have the same success that I've had. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and let's get started. Back in 2018, I was working at a job that made me super unhappy and I was even having work-related depression. So I applied to over 50 jobs in the span of 3 months, just anything to get me out of the job that I was currently in. And out of those 50 plus jobs that I applied for, I only got 2 interviews and I didn't get past the first round. So as you can imagine, I felt really disheartened and discouraged. Just around that time as well, I discovered something called the law of attraction. And that literally changed my life. And it's the very first thing I want to talk about in this video because it is so foundational to how I got where I'm at right now, which is pretty much getting every single dream job that I've ever wanted or envisioned me having. So the law of attraction basically is if you believe something to be yours and you feel that you already have it, then it will be yours by law. And I really resonated with that because I recall from studying psychology in college that Sigmund Freud had once said that our objective reality is largely shaped by our subconscious mind, meaning that what we perceive as our reality is shaped in part by our thoughts and our belief systems. So kind of along the same lines of your perception is your reality. So if you change the way you perceive things, then you can change the outcome of your reality. So I really liked the law of attraction because I felt like it gave me a more magical way of enforcing some of the concepts that I learned in psychology. And everyone knows that applying for jobs and wanting to get a dream job is oftentimes a really difficult experience because you get lots of rejections. If you even get a call back or an email back, it can sometimes take a long time and sometimes you doubt yourself and you wonder if you're good enough. What law of attraction taught me was, why not just believe that what I want will come to me? This world is so magical and there's so many things we can't explain that just happen to us sometimes by luck. So what if I just started believing that the things I wanted would come into my life? And I think because I already felt so low and I couldn't feel any lower, that I just decided that I'm gonna lean into this newfound of hope and really give the law of attraction some validity and just try it out. So I decided to shift my perspective. I essentially started telling myself that I would get the job that I wanted, which was I wanted to be a study abroad coordinator instead of doing what I was doing at that time. And I quit the job. I started working as a waitress in a restaurant. So I did not get the job that I wanted right away, but I needed some money coming in and I needed to step away from the job that I was working at because it was really sucking the life out of me. And as I was waitressing at this restaurant, I was visualizing and really trusting and believing and feeling those feelings that I would have once I got hired as a study abroad coordinator. And I was consistent with that process. And within 4 months, I finally got the job that I wanted as a study abroad coordinator with, mind you, 0 experience. So let me give you a quick timeline of what happened after I got that job as a study abroad coordinator. I worked there for about a year and then I decided to move to Australia. I moved to Australia with very little money and I knew that I needed to get a job almost right away. I really wanted a job as a student support officer at a university, at least part-time. And then I was thinking part-time as a fitness instructor because I was also a certified personal trainer and I really wanted to keep working in that field a little bit so I wasn't losing that skill. I get to Australia and I start visualizing getting those 2 jobs, and within 4 weeks I got a job at the University of Melbourne as an international student support officer and then a job at F45 as a coach. So I was doing that for 6 months and then I just felt like I wanted to make a little bit more money, maybe going into something salesy so I could just make a lot of money, leave Australia and backpack Southeast Asia. And one day as I was coaching at F45, one of my members came up to me and asked me if I'd be interested in a job in sales because they thought I'd be really good. And I was blown away by that. Ended up getting this job in sales, worked there only for a few months, saved a ton of money, and then ended up leaving. My visa was up anyways, and backpacking Southeast Asia. As I was in Southeast Asia, I knew that the next job I wanted to get would be in software. I wanted to just switch over to like software or tech and get like a job that was challenging and that had like benefits and just felt more secure. And I kept visualizing it and trusting that it would happen. And literally out of the blue, one of my friends writes to me on Instagram, replies to one of my stories, asking me if I'd be interested in a job in software. Craziness. It doesn't end there. The last thing that happened to me is I did get that job in software, and then that company actually had hired a vendor to redesign their website, and I ended up working with that vendor as the project manager. I developed a really great relationship with that vendor, and I just loved them and just thought, man, it'd be really cool to work for them instead. And I went on their website to try to see if they were hiring. They weren't hiring, so I kind of just let that thought go. But I just kind of couldn't stop thinking about what it would be like to work for them. A few weeks later, their managing director reaches out to me and asks me if I'd like to work for them instead. So I did. There's a few other stories after that. I don't want to bore you with all of my history, but I want to show you how the law of attraction started to work for me, because as I would believe and feel that I would have these jobs already and trust that it was coming, they would come. But that's not the only thing I did. So I'm excited to share with you the second thing that I did to help me get every job that I wanted. Was I was always very consistent and persistent. I still felt that I needed to be consistent in taking steps to get the job I wanted and be persistent even if I was getting rejected or not seeing the results. So it's not just believing and sitting back. At least for me, it was believing and taking actionable steps. So for example, when I got to Australia, I immediately started looking at my resume, revising my resume, sending it out, going on LinkedIn, applying to jobs there, reaching out to recruiters. So I was consistently taking action almost every single day, and I was persistent. Even if I wouldn't hear back from someone, even if I was getting rejected, even if I didn't make it past the first interview, I would still be a persistent motherfucker. I would not give up. And I think that's super important because that kept the momentum going. In the days or the moments where I did feel defeated and I was dealing with rejections or not seeing results, I still had this momentum, like a fire in my belly to keep going, to be persistent, to not give up, to keep taking those steps. And that momentum feeds that belief. That momentum feeds that trust. No matter what I was witnessing in my reality, even if things weren't happening exactly the way I wanted them to, or even if things weren't happening as fast as I wanted them to, I would not give up. So again, this is what I believe, and this is what truly worked for me over and over again. But it wasn't just believing in the spiritual concepts, it was also applying and taking action. Which brings me to point number 3 is make sure that you're evaluating yourself as you go. So if you're continuing to be consistent and take those steps to apply for different jobs and persistent, not giving up and, going no matter what, but you're not getting any results after a few weeks or maybe even a few months, you need to evaluate yourself. Have you taken the time, or have you taken a step back to look at your resume and see if it's up to par? Are there any grammatical errors? Do you think that you've really described your past history, your past experience really well? Have you had someone check it or validate it? Have you been working with a recruiter or not? If you've made it to interviews and you don't get past the first or second round, sometimes there are some things we need to tweak about how we're interviewing, what's on our resume, what we're doing, like our strategy in order to get the jobs that we desire. When I would get to an interview and I wouldn't get past the first or second round, you better believe I was always reaching out either to the recruiter or somebody in HR or the person that interviewed me and asked them for feedback. Of course, it's an intimidating thing to do. No one likes to hear constructive feedback, or at least most of us don't, right? It can be hard getting that, but evaluating yourself and looking for ways to improve is also super important. Plus, part of what law of attraction is you need to be in alignment with the version of yourself, the future version of yourself that already has that job. So future Sarah, she's working in software. What did she do to get there? well, she probably had a clean interview. Her resume was probably impeccable. You know, she exuded confidence during her interview. In order for you to get to that level, sometimes you need to evaluate what you're doing and revise what you're doing so you can be that version of yourself that got the job that you wanted. And we need to constantly work on improving ourselves because there's always areas we can improve on. If you're not a confident interviewer, hire a coach to help you get through an interview, or just role play with a friend, role play with a family member, look at YouTube videos. You have to continuously work on yourself and making sure that you are acing these interviews and your resume is up to scratch. Now, that brings me to the fourth thing that I did consistently that I believe helped me get every job I wanted: gratitude. So gratitude's a really interesting thing because, first of all, just being grateful for what you have puts you in a really positive state of mind and lifts up your spirits. And trust me, the more gratitude you have and the more joy you feel for what you already have, it brings you closer to manifesting the thing that you want. Because think of it this way, the version of yourself that has the role that you want is grateful, right? Isn't the version of you that has the job that you want super grateful that you made it, that you interviewed well, that you got past all those interviews, and that you got to be exactly where you're sitting right now, or in that version of yourself? And going back to what I was saying in the beginning, you need to feel like you have that job that you want. Gratitude is a big part of that feeling. So being grateful for what you have now, which is just a super healthy practice within itself, but then expressing gratitude for what is to come. I literally have goosebumps right now because I'm telling you, this is one of the things that I think sealed the deal in my practice for manifesting everything that I wanted as far as career. I would not only be grateful for what I have now, but I would also do a gratitude practice of being grateful for what was to come, but I would say it in a present tense. So for example, I would say, I'm super grateful that I have a job in software that gives me medical insurance, dental insurance, and pays me more money than I've ever made before, and that I'm super happy and loving everyone that I'm working with. And you can see that just flowed right out of me because I would literally do this gratitude practice almost every day. Not every single day, like you don't have to be obsessed with it, but just like every time I would remember, particularly in the mornings, I wouldn't even write it down. I'm not one of those people that are telling you need to write everything down, although it's an excellent practice, but I'm just a little bit lazy. So I would wake up in the morning because I know in the morning they say is like the most powerful time for you to express gratitude and bring things into your subconscious mind to manifest. So I would wake up in the morning, my alarm would go off, and I'd go through a gratitude list in my mind. And I would say it on repeat, like, I'm so grateful I have my dream job. I'm so grateful I'm making 6 figures. I'm so grateful I'm working remote. Those are the things that I've been saying more recently that have gotten me to where I'm at right now. But whatever that is for you, it's super important that you express gratitude for what you have now and for what you are manifesting. The very last thing that I did was I listened to this law of attraction, manifestation, meditation every week for so long. I cannot tell you how many years, probably 2 or 3 years on and off. And I really think that has also been a part of the fuel that has gotten me to where I'm at right now. Because, as I said, if you're struggling to like feel gratitude, to express gratitude, if you're not someone who's like a big visual person and you're struggling to visualize, a meditation will literally guide you. It is just like the easiest way to get you in a state of mind that's thinking into that version of yourself that you want to step into. So I'm going to put in the description box the law of attraction manifestation meditation that I used. Tongue twister. But it was 30 minutes long. I know that's a commitment, but like I said, it wasn't like every day that I would listen to this meditation, but it was right before I'd go to sleep, and sometimes I would fall asleep to it. I would listen to it in my bed. I'd pop my earphones in, and it would just take me through this journey of what I would feel when I had this job, what it would look like, you know, what energy I would be feeling, what feelings would be coursing through my body. And I was just like, yes, I'm working in software, or yes, I'm working as a fitness instructor at F45, or whatever it was. And dude, I'm telling you, it worked. Like every single thing that I'm telling you right now in this video that I did There is no other way I can explain how I got every single job I wanted. And some people can say luck, it was luck, but you can't get that lucky all the time. Like, there has to be steps that you're taking that are actually working for you, and the proof is in the pudding. I believed in law of attraction. I was consistent with taking steps towards getting the jobs that I wanted, and I was persistent no matter what, no matter how many rejections, I would not give up. I would evaluate myself, look back every few weeks if I wasn't getting a result. What can improve? Does my resume need to be fixed? Do I need to talk to someone, to a recruiter? Do I need to practice my interviews and how confident I'm coming across in interviews? I would express gratitude, and I would listen to this law of attraction manifestation meditation. And lo and behold, I'm at where I'm at right now. If you want to learn more about how I really stepped into trusting and how that changed my life when I just eased into believing everything would work out for me, then make sure you watch this video here.